Today, you're going to be super freaking excited because I have my friend Olivia Tati, and we're talking all things real estate investing. Actually, I'm lying. We're talking about all things outside of real estate investing.
There is so much focus on like this idea of being the best version of yourself. And I do think that sometimes we go a little crazy in terms of self-development and never drinks anything and never eats anything bad and is always meditating. And I kind of went through that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be the best version of myself. And I realized that I just snapped after a while. I was like, okay, there's a balance, just like with anything in life.
I feel like real estate is so cold. It's just kind of boring. I mean, because it's kind of redundant. Am I right on this?
100%. The strategy is going to change a little, but the basics of it really aren't.
You can let go of things that don't necessarily serve you anymore. They were great for starting. Get your feet wet. You understood business. You started to understand the acronym, but then that maybe just isn't the path for you anymore. And you have to be able to cut it off and move on to something else or sell it. Maybe we'll share equity piece with you.
I honestly didn't even think about that.
Welcome to the JV Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Vasquez. Are you interested in going to one of the biggest and baddest real estate investor conferences on the planet? Well, you're actually in luck because I'm holding the Midterm Rental Summit April 27th to the 29th in the beautiful city of San Diego. We're going to have over 800 qualified investors showing up to learn all about midterm rentals. If you're super interested in doing this, I suggest you should come because you're going to be learning from special people like Dan Martell, Case Morby, Amy Majuri, Fiona McIntyre, and many others. Oh, and don't let me forget, Noble Crawford Government Contracts. This is going to be an event you're going to want to go to. Tickets are selling fast. We don't have many left. I'm going to leave the link for that down below. Please check it out. You're definitely going to want to be there if you want to build a successful midterm rental business. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JV Pod. Today, you're going to be super freaking excited because I have my friend Olivia Tati, and we're talking all things real estate investing. Actually, I'm lying. We're talking about all things outside of real estate investing. We do cover a couple things in real estate about how to house hack, but we really dive into the mindset, what it actually takes to build a successful business. And we also talk about ways that we have been able to figure out how to actually incorporate some fun time in our businesses. And I think this episode, if you're starting new today or you're trying to get yourself in a position to be around the right people, Olivia is the person that you absolutely want to listen to. She talks about a lot of things that are, I believe, important growing up from an immigrant family. What mindset comes from that, how you have to separate yourself from your family sometimes and not necessarily follow the path they want for you. A lot of this was super interesting and it was close to home because I think we have a very similar background growing up. But I do believe you guys are going to find a ton of value in this episode. And as always, thank you guys for listening. But if you could do me a massive solid, if you can just go real quick, go hit the like button, subscribe button, wherever you're watching this, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just leave a review. If this podcast resonates with you, if there's anything you love about it, that helps me bring on more people that I can help. And not only that, but get to more people that are out listening to this all over the world. And that's a pretty interesting place to be because it is difficult to get these podcasts to roll. So appreciate you so much. Let's jump right in. All right. So we were talking earlier offline, Olivia, and real estate's just boring. I mean, I love real estate. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it. It got me started. It obviously has done a ton of stuff, which we'll dive into with you. But I was just talking about this a minute ago. I feel like real estate is so cold. It's just kind of boring. And I've actually been diving into analytics of like real estate podcasts like Bigger Pockets and stuff like that and all these different kinds of channels. And I've actually watched the listeners kind of declining. Like people aren't necessarily going specifically to these big channels to learn about real estate anymore because it's kind of redundant. Am I right on this?
100%. And I think especially after the COVID boom, right? So many people got into real estate investing and we have pretty much democratized the market, right? All of the information that you need is online. Literally everything is online, which is amazing. But I know for me, as much as I love real estate investing, and I do believe I'm probably going to invest in real estate for the rest of my life, the strategy is going to change a little, but the basics of it really aren't. But what I'm really passionate about is seeing the growth, the epiphanies in other people and changing their lives and seeing them become the person that they were really meant to be,
Yeah. Well, I think that too, I knew you coached. I didn't realize how deep of a coach you went into all this stuff, but also I think that's a when you get to learn a lesson on your, what I'm trying to say right now is like self-development comes from, I believe, like getting involved with something completely, which real estate, I mean, you left your chemical engineer job, which we'll talk about in a minute. Like, I think those kinds of life decisions like that are truly what create, this self-development that you start to go down. Real estate kind of is one of those it's a little portion of it, it gets the financial literacy. You start to kind of like, if you go all in on it, you leave your W-2 job, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm involved in this. You're going to learn a lot of lessons. You're going to realize how difficult it is to actually do these things full time. And I think, you and I both listening to Bigger Pockets and all these other stuff over the years, like a lot of people go on there and make it sound really easy. And I'm not here to tell people it's not easy. Actually, I'm here to tell people it's not easy. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It takes time. And I think we get to see these like polished versions of people, which honestly, and I always talk about this all the time, like I don't know what I'm doing in the sense of like, I'm still trying to figure that out. And I would really love to hear more people that have been there, done that, kind of say the same thing. Because I know that I've watched people in these close proximities that you and I both know that have, 100,000 followers and all these things. And they're just like, I'm trying to figure it out too.
Yep.
But you don't see that at all. You know what I mean?
Totally. I feel like everyone is every like few months or every year is going through some sort of existential crisis. So
Yeah.
I completely agree.
I agree to that. And it could just be like, learning systems on the back end or learning how to run funnels. And like, you can go hire these people, but not all the time it doesn't work. In fact, that's what it was for me for 2024. It was just like, I threw so much money at the wall, Olivia, trying to figure out like, how do funnels work? What's the back end? I hired people, I hired sales coaches. I did all these things. And it's just like $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 later in the entire year. I probably spent six figures easily on this stuff. And I barely held on to one thing. And I think that's kind of what like entrepreneurship is about. It really, really is that kind of stuff. And obviously, I think now I'm to a level where I could spend that, but it's also money that's invested back into the business. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us sometimes think, and this is where the whole, you get to listen to somebody on some of these episodes and people are like, yeah, I'm making $50,000 a month now and blah, 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 blah. It's kind of unimaginable when you are working a W-2 job, you're barely getting by, you're in survival mode. And then you hear somebody talking about making 50K or 100K or whatever it is a month. There's this gap.
Yeah.
This big giant gap. And people are always saying, oh, it's a mindset thing. You just got to change your mindset. Yes, I do believe it's a change of mindset, but there's just so much more to it. Right, Olivia?
Completely. Oh my gosh. And it's like, especially when you're going through the trenches, you're like, my mindset's like, I'm abundant. I'm feeling abundant right now, but the strategy isn't working. And I think the thing about entrepreneurship, and this is honestly life in general, is that there is no one true path to success. What people are selling, right, is what worked for them, but what worked for them isn't 100% like what is going to work for you, because you are not the same person. You don't have the same energy. You don't have the same family structure behind you. You don't have the same finances. You don't know like everything that really went into their success, And also success is so subjective because like I see people who have these giant coaching programs. They spend hundreds of $1,000s a month just running the program and they barely profit. And I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah, that's
and
real.
I build my business. I try as much as I possibly can. And we all like make mistakes and have to learn, but I try to build my businesses so that it supports my lifestyle. And when I feel it rubbing up to the sense like this is when I envisioned what I was creating, it's not actually giving me the lifestyle that I wanted. That's when I always try to take a step back and be like, okay, wait, what am I doing and why am I doing this for? Right?
What does success look like to you, Olivia?
The crazy, and this is honestly an issue that it's not an issue, but like I genuinely feel like I am successful already. I literally love my life. I can, if I want to, work if I wanted to, I could close a lot of my businesses and just live off of my real estate. And it just, it cash flows over $10,000 to $20,000 a month. Like we're doing good. We're doing fine. Right. But I am incredibly ambitious and I always like want to do more. And so I'm in this weird thing where it's like, I believe I'm successful now, but my idea of it's not even like I'm striving for success. I just know that number one, I can impact more. I also just like have a level of luxury that I really enjoy.
You and I both,
so yeah. I'm being really honest there. Yeah. But also like I think about a lot of the students that I've coached, and a lot of the time when I'm like, oh, I'm just going to scrap it all and not do anything anymore, I hop on a coaching call with them, right? And I'm just like, this is why I do it. And this is why I keep going. And there's so many more people out there who need help and who need me, whatever that looks like. And, I was reading this book this past weekend called Discover Your Dharma, which is basically just figuring out like what you were put on this earth to do. And I believe I was genuinely put on this earth to do the thing that I was really supposed to do, which was to be a visionary and to be a teacher and to help people live their best lives and be their best versions of themselves,
Yeah, I totally get that. You mentioned something earlier. I want to make sure I hit about the ambition and stuff. Do you feel like that's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time?
Oh, the number of times I've been like, it would be so easy to just to not have to care, to not be ambitious. Like sometimes I wish that I was like that, but I'm not. And I really do love that part about me. And I think it's, it's gotten me to where I am. And I really love the life that I've created, but it can get really exhausting sometimes.
Yeah. Are you one of those people that's like, I think I'm talking to myself right now when I say this, but like,
I'm like, are you one of those people?
Yeah. Anytime I say that, you guys on this podcast, I'm actually talking about myself. Okay. I personally am, and I'm learning how to deal with this actually, where I feel like I have to be doing something all the time. So if I'm just sitting here in between podcasts, I'm putting on a podcast to listen to somebody talk about something, because then my brain is like, I'm absorbing stuff. I'm not just doing nothing. And then I'll go like, whenever I sit down and watch, like I love watching Netflix. I don't care if people slam me for that. Like I love watching Netflix at night. That's my like chill time. Like I'll take a gummy or something and go watch freaking TV. Like I love that. It's like, I enjoy that so much. And, I feel like sometimes I feel sick that I'm like that I'm spending my time doing that. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, dude, I'm like trying to just chill for a little bit. Like I'm going all the time. And I started to realize this, and maybe this is something that I don't know if you go to therapy at all or anything like that, but I started to realize like I am running for my own self by continuing to like do all these things, because I don't want to like go inside or deal with my own internal battles, whatever that is, or whatever that may be, which I've talked about on this podcast quite a bit, with anxiety and, panic attacks and things of that nature that I've had for so many years of my life. And I started to realize that anxiety that I thought that I was having was potential that I was not actually living up to. Like, it was almost like this like weird internal thing of me saying like, you have the ability to do these things, and the fact that you're not doing them, that's when my anxiety comes. Like it'll come full circle. If I'm spending energy and time doing things that aren't important, that aren't moving the needle forward, I'll start to get anxiety. And it's because I feel like I'm not doing exactly what you just said. Like, I feel like I've learned a purpose. I'm 42 now, Olivia. Like it took me like 40 years of my life to figure out what my purpose is. And I think every single person is going to go through their own journey of whatever season that may be, where they're going to find their purpose. And I think a lot of us out there, including myself, didn't really know what that is or what that was or what that could be. But let's actually start to talk about this, because this is where we can maybe even dive into like how you found your purpose. It doesn't have to be coaching. It doesn't have to be that stuff. I know that I talk to a lot of people and I talk about, helping others. And that's like for me, I really feel that it's a value. I had that as a kid. And I knew that. Did you have any similar kind of energy like that as a kid? Like where you knew you were going to do something great, or you knew you were going to put something together, you knew you were ambitious young. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because there's definitely a few different situations. But even today, this literally came to me today on my walk, is I realized when I was younger, like this was high school, middle school, Olivia, I was such a like goody two shoes go getter kind of girl.
You were like the valedictorian.
Literally, yeah, I was up there for sure.
Yeah.
And so I used to create these study guides, and I would send them out to everyone in my class and be like, "Don't worry, I got you guys covered. Here's the study guide. That's how we're going to pass the test." And I would create everything and make it cute and all of that. And I like realized that's a lot of even what I'm doing now, just with like, be it coaching, be it just social media in general. Like I've always been that person that loves to give information and help people like bring them up. But I think also in general, so a thing that I really like to do, I actually do a lot of like introspection, journaling, personal develop mindset thing going. Sometimes I would say I honestly go inwards a little too much, and I'm like, Olivia, chill out.
Yeah, that's good though. I think that's important.
I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to like finding the balance that works for you. Right. And I think it's like we get all of this information from other people of like, okay, this is how I do it. And this is how I do it. And this is how I do it. But what works for you? And I think the thing about it too is it's just a trial and error process. We're not going to get it right every time. We're going to flail and fumble. And that's okay. But yeah, I've always just kind of been that person that number one has always kind of done things differently. Like I've always been a colorful, bubbly person who's okay with being alone, but also loves being around other people. And just is always helping people, like bring them up to whatever that looks like. I just have always been a helper and wanting to help. But I also realize a lot of my ambition, though, comes from being the child of immigrant parents, and my parents sacrificed everything, right? To like, they were refugees in the UK. That's where I was born, started with nothing, selling bottles on the street, and then like did all that they possibly could to put us into good schools and all this stuff. And so I always feel like I had that burden on me, which is why it was also so heart-wrenching to leave my engineering job at first, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm disappointing my parents. I went through a whole existential crisis back then as well. So yeah, it's a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, I think the immigrant parent situation, I'm watching all this stuff happen right now with like, ICE and like, I'm Hispanic, obviously. And, seeing all this stuff happen, and it's kind of crazy for me to think about, because I believe two things on two sides, where like my parents came here, and this is a weird like Hispanic thing. If Hispanics come to this country, Olivia, and they go through the legal process, those people, I'm saying those people as in like my family, because they came here legally, or they came here illegally and got paper and all that stuff. Part of my family looks at people that come here undocumented as like, oh, they're not actually following the rules. But what is weird to me, because like, you came here doing the same thing,
Right.
but then you got your papers. But then why is this illegal for these people to do? But here's what I'm trying to say right now by all this, because I think it's wild, like to watch all this stuff happen. I don't want to get super political on this conversation, but maybe I will a little bit. I just find it to be if you have immigrant parents or come from an immigrant background like that, you just view things so much different than people that were born here in the States. And we see a lot of people that come from other countries that take advantage of the school education system here, because a lot of the people that live here don't actually do that. And they don't actually see as being born in like, that's winning the lottery. Like if you're born here, you won the freaking lottery. Just being alive, the odds of being alive is, I think it's 300 trillion to 1. So that alone already is just like you hit the jackpot. And then you're born in the US. I mean, that's like hitting the jackpot like freaking 10x, right? So it's like, for me, it's just, I've just watched so many people that I know that have come from immigrant families look at things different, like look at our parents different, look at, not letting them down, wanting to continue to build these relationships with them, making sure that we're staying in contact with them. It's like, and a lot of other people don't necessarily have that. I'm not saying that's not just immigrant people, because I know people that were born here that are white that have that same mentality, but not everybody has that. But if you look at immigrants and the way they teach kids work and ethics and the ability to do whatever you want. I'm sure your family was telling you, like, Olivia, like you could do whatever you want. Like you have that energy. And when you get here, it's like a total different kind of thing. Like you've won the lottery. And I think that people that come from other countries literally feel that, and they teach you that. They teach me that. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, completely. When I think about, for example, I was born in London and in the UK, and I lived there till I was 9. And we didn't actually get our British like citizenship or passports until I was about 4 years old. I have cousins at the age of 22, 23 that just got their citizenships. I think about, I'm really lucky in the sense my parents really did tell me, like, you can do anything you want in your life, which was a good and bad thing, right? Because at first I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do the thing that, makes sense. I'm going to go into engineering, all of that stuff. But then when it felt wrong, like it didn't feel right anymore, I decided to quit my job. I don't think that's what my parents were originally envisioning when they said that I could do anything, but I really took that to heart. But yeah, I think it's just like seeing how hard they worked as well, and seeing how dedicated they were to giving us a better life. It feels like you're almost slapping them in the face a little, if you don't do what they put us on this earth to do, even though they didn't like put us on this earth, like they biologically, sure they did, but we are our own people, and we were put on this earth to do whatever our like soul's calling was as well, And yeah, it's so interesting too, because I even think about like the women that I coach. I coach a lot of like young women. A lot of the time it's immigrant women or Black women, like women of color, whatever that looks like. And a lot of them feel the exact same thing, right? And I think it also comes from if you came from poverty or not. too.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference. And the big reason I've seen for that is like, it's kind of like Pavlov's hierarchy of needs, right? It's like at first it's survival. So you do anything and whatever you possibly can do to survive, right? And then you get to a point where, okay, like I've got my basic survivals covered. Like, what am I really supposed to do with it? And like, it's not until you've gotten that covered that you can really kind of go introspect. And it's not to say that you can't do it if you don't have all of that covered, but I've seen that's generally the progression, right? Is once you do have the basics covered, or maybe like I think about how I grew up versus how my parents grew up. My current parents didn't grow up with much and they were always constantly in survival mode. While we didn't grow up with a ton at the beginning, like we lived in government housing and everything, they still made it seem like we had everything we could possibly ever want in our lives, right? So we never grew up with this, like, I have to survive instinct. So I think that's where the mindset shift of, well, what do I actually want to do comes up. And like, what's my life purpose? What was I here to do? And people who aren't there are like, that's never been a question, right? We've been in survival mode for the end of time. So yeah, I just find it to be so fascinating.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You had a tweet the other day that I liked. Actually, I think it was yesterday. You don't actually want more money. You want money. You want what money gives you and freedom. Can you break that down? What that means? Because this is kind of on the same topic that you're just talking about right now.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, money is just a number. Well, I would, some people would say it's paper. It's barely paper. Like most of us don't have a ton of cash sitting around like in paper form unless you're like my parents, like immigrants.
Yeah, have it underneath a mattress or like kind of, yeah.
Exactly. But now it's just kind of, at the end of the day, it's a number in your account, right? And it's not the number that matters. It's what it provides us and the freedom that is what we really want. Because if you, let's say you have $6 million in your bank account, but you can't actually use any of it, is that going to bring you joy? Is that going to provide, like, I don't, like if it's just sitting there locked away and you're never allowed to touch it, what's the point of $6 million, right? So it's more just what you're able to actually do with it. It's the like safety, security, and freedom that it provides you. That's what we're all chasing, right? And that's why, like, I always teach my students house hacking first, because if you can get your basic living expenses covered, it just opens up your world, right? Like it opens up that freedom to be like, okay, even if I lose my job, I'll be okay. I could sit in my house for the next, 5 years, or no, not 5 years, but like I could sit in my house for the next few months and figure it out, versus if you don't have that like sense of security, that's when you start to freak out,
Yeah, totally. I'm with you on that. I think house hacking is one of the greatest real estate strategies on the planet if you get the right property and all that stuff and it makes sense and you are actually able to live, at least close to rent free. Because I know a lot of people will still pay, a few $100 and,
right,
stuff like that, which is, I mean, I'd love to live for a couple $100. You know what I mean? Like that would be pretty freaking awesome. So basically for everybody out there, house hacking is where you get like a duplex or something like that, or you can even rent by the room. It doesn't matter, where other people are potentially paying a large sum of your mortgage and you're just living either for free. If you look at it that way, you're actually living without paying anything, or you have people that are paying down your bills for you. And I think that's a pretty freaking awesome way to live if you think about it. How did you discover that? Like, where did that even come from?
Bigger pockets.
Yeah.
Listening to enough podcast episodes. Well, this was back in 2020. I'd been working my corporate job for a year and COVID had just happened. And like my work, a lot of people, I feel like for work, they were like, oh yeah, it was great because I didn't have to work that much. For me, it was not that case at all. I was one of the main engineers who would work directly with the folks offshore on the oil and gas platforms. And it was crazy. Literally, we were just like worked to the bone. I remember on weekends, the folks offshore would call me and be like, oh, hey, Olivia, you're not doing anything. I'm like, no, I still need a break.
Yeah, they're like, just take more work. So you were working as a chemical engineer for like Exxon or something? Who were you working
Chevron,
for?
Yeah. I was a flow assurance engineer and then a facilities engineer. So like some chemical engineering for my first role. And then my second role was less chemical engineering, more like facilities, mechanical engineering type of situation.
Yeah, I love that. When you transitioned from real estate to real estate, what was that like unexpected lesson you learned, or that journey you wish you knew when you got started? Because you left Probably, I'm assuming that you were just like burnt out, right? That's probably why you left
So
the
burnt
job.
out. But I had no intention. Like, if you told me the year before that I was going to quit my job, I was like, no. I was like
never.
5 years, 5 years, one property a year for 5 years. That was the goal, right? But I just got so burnt out. We started going back into the office too. So it wasn't just like working from home, because essentially what I got my real estate license because I was already thinking, career change. This would be a great little side hustle. See if I like it. But then when we started going to the office, I couldn't really do real estate as much. I would try, like, even when I was buying a property, Chevron has really strict rules where you can't get on Gmail and stuff like that. So I couldn't even sign documents or anything like that. I was so annoyed, frustrated, stressed out. And then I went to a real estate conference, and that's kind of what like blew my mind. And after that, I was like, nope, I'm quitting and just going all in, and I'm going to figure it out. So,
Did you talk to somebody, Olivia, that was just like, you got to quit your job? Was that something? Because this is an important lesson for everybody out there, that especially if you're an immigrant, because there's a point, and I remember exactly where I was when I decided not to do what my parents wanted me to do. In fact, I didn't do what they wanted me to do. I just lived the way they wanted me to live. I was 27. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I remember like literally being in the car. Imagine like this indie scene in a movie where it's like, you look in the rearview mirror, and then the camera's panning, and you can see the eyes of the person in the rearview mirror. And I'm like, you're driving off from the house. Like, that's exactly what was happening to me. I was like, I'm just not going to do what my parents want me to do anymore. And like, I did everything they kind of wanted. I went and got a job. I did the stuff. I got to move myself up. But then there was a day where I was just like, I'm not going to do what they want me to do anymore. Did you have that in you? Was it like this kind of...
Oh yeah. No. So 100%. I was like on the plane home from so Tony and Sarah Robinson, they had like the STR Summit. That was the first ever real estate investing conference that I went to. And I actually won tickets to go there, because at first I was like, no, I can't afford it. I got to go offshore, blah, blah, blah. The second I won tickets, I had flights booked, like everything booked. I was like, I don't care how much it is, I'm going. And I was on the flight back. And I just remember, like, I texted my friend, Anita, who now like we own some properties together and everything. And I was like, hey, so I've decided I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go all in on this real estate investing. Would you like to join me? And I was like literally sitting there on the plane, just like, all of these people could do it. Why can't I do it too? And that conference was really the first place where I got in the room with other folks doing the thing that I wanted to do. Right. And they were, they were regular people. I think that's the thing for me, is like, they weren't these crazy, like, it's not like they're very smart human beings, but it's not like they were infinitely more intelligent than I was,
Yeah, because you're pretty damn smart. Like, we already know you're a chemical engineer. They're not no chemical engineers, Olivia. You can go ahead and say it. It's totally fine here. Nobody's going to hear it. None of the people that were at that event, Tony, we're going to send you this exact clip right here. Yeah, because yeah, right. They're all regular people. It's like, they're not smarter than you. They're just they took bigger risks. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is that we'll see people and be like, they're way more smarter than us. They have way more skills. Like, dude, in fact, they're probably not as smart as you. They have a level of, they're just doing it. They're taking action. And that's Completely. What you did from being at that event. Hey everyone, if you are feeling stuck or not like you're making the progress you want in your midterm rental journey, I've got something that can change everything for you. Imagine being part of a community that's not only supportive, but filled with like-minded individuals who are driven to succeed, just like you. Whether you are just starting out, looking to take care of your business to another level, my community is designed to help you break through those barriers. We're currently opening up registration for new enrollees, so if you're serious about building a thriving midterm rental business and you want to leverage my 10,000 hours of experience, this is your chance. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn, grow, and connect with others in the same path. I hope to see you guys. The link is in the show notes, and let's build something incredible together. Let's get back to this episode.
Completely. And I will say too, like, everything that's happened since then has really taught me about what my risk level really is right now. And I think it changes depending on what stage you're in. But like, there are some things where I'm like, actually, I don't think that is the kind of risk I want to take, versus there are other things that other people think are absolutely insane. And I'm like, nope, jump right in. Don't care. Let's do it. Right. Yeah. And I think you have to kind of push the boundaries, and it's kind of like a rubber band, like test to see how far you can go. And sometimes it snaps and you're like, shit,
Yeah.
But I kind of love that too, because I always look back on those moments, and like when I did stretch myself, like, wow, that was a lot, but like, damn, I learned so much. I learned so many lessons, and now I know going forward, like, what to do, what not to do. Not to say it's going to go perfectly, but I have so much more insight now, and I think part of my risk taking also comes from the more risks I take, the more I can teach other people too. And the more I can help them take those risks as well. And so that always fuels me too.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a high risk tolerance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's so it depends, right? Because I see other people and I'm like, they have a way higher risk tolerance than I do. But then there are some things to me that it just doesn't faze me, right?
Yeah.
How about you?
I have a crazy freaking high risk tolerance. I'm like, I think I've talked about this before on here. Yeah, I have. During COVID, in March of 2020, I did a refinance on my personal house that I live in, and I pulled out like $45,000. COVID hit March 17th. I got the money March 15th, and I put it all on Moderna.
Oh my God.
I put $40,000. So that's like, because my brain was like, okay, dislocation, adversity, everybody's running from the market right now. Everybody's scared. Everybody's pulling their money away. Like, I wish I would have put it in Carnival Cruise or something that I know would come back in the future. But like, that's where my brain was going. I was like, right now is the time. Like, this is the time to be freaking crazy, to take money that you probably need. And for me, it was like, it was going to be investment money. I was going to use that to invest in real estate somewhere. But I'm like, if I can wait this out, if I can put this in there, and I bet on one thing, like literally it was just betting, right? Like I feel like it's gambling in a lot of ways. But here's where I didn't think it was gambling, because what goes down is going to come up eventually. And I realized, like, okay, if you go back and look at, history, it shows you that when we have these, viruses and these flus or whatever happens, the economic strain that comes down, the market's going to come down, it's going to come back up. And I'm like, we got Pfizer, we got Moderna. Where am I going to go with this? And luckily I put it in the right spot, but I was able to walk away with that with a few $100,000 that were in, the stock market. I left my W-2 job at that same time, which was kind of crazy, because I was
That's amazing though.
But that's the risk tolerance that I have. And I feel like I know myself when it comes to risk. Like I have to be calculated to a certain degree. I have to like really feel it. I feel like I get this opportunity to kind of look at what people are scared of. And like, we've heard Warren Buffett talk about that, right? What's that quote that he has where it's like, be fearful when everybody's greedy, or greedy when everybody's fearful? Like, that was what I was thinking about at that time. I'm like, everybody's getting out of here. Everybody's getting away from these things. Like, I'm just going to go into it. And I feel like looking back on a lot of my career choices and stuff that I've done, it was a lot of that. And sometimes it didn't work, and that's the hard part.
That's the key though. You have to be okay with it not working. Right. And I think that's what, like, everyone wants the blueprint strategy, A to Z, situation. The thing is life in general isn't that way. There are so many people who spent $200,000, $300,000 on college and aren't able to get a job out of college. Right. But they took the path. They went the A to Z route, right? And they aren't able, and there are people getting master's degree, like if you on Threads and stuff, there are so many people talking about how they have a master's degree and they can't even get a job that pays more than $30 an hour, But the thing is we've normalized that risk. Right? We've normalized that. We haven't normalized real estate investing with stocks or anything like that. And that's when people are like, see, you lose out, you lose your money, blah, 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 blah. And I think surrounding yourself with positive experiences is also going to be huge in terms of your risk-taking tolerance, right? Because anytime I'm thinking of doing something crazy or like starting something new, I try to surround myself with people who are doing it and are happy that they did it, right? And are successful at it, because that puts me in that energy. And instead of being like, oh, this is bound to fail, I think in my brain, this is bound to actually succeed. And that's not to say that that's going to instantly make you successful, but it improves your likelihood, your mood, your emotion around all of the tasks that you're doing. That does have that push for you to be a little bit more successful versus fail. If you're thinking you're going to fail from the beginning, then yeah, you're definitely going to fail.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how our minds work like that? Where it's like, if you focus on that thing, it usually you'll start to see it all the time. Like if I woke up and I'm negative, I'd see everything negative throughout the day. And I'm a big believer in energy. And I know I talk about that sometimes and people are just like, man, this guy's so woo woo. And you just talk about energy.
I'm so woo woo. Like I'm real woo woo.
Are you like an astrologist? And
I've got crystals.
You got the crystal.
Like literally, I'm like talking to ChatGPT about my North Node.
Oh my God, the seventh house. Yeah. You're in that stuff. I think that's cool because it gives a little bit of insight. It lets you see things from a different perspective, but also like makes you think a little bit different. Because I think it's kind of cool sometimes. I don't necessarily go down that rabbit hole, but I do believe in like energy because that's what we are. We're like literally humans that are energy that are walking around moving things. And I think in vibrations and frequencies too, which might sound a little crazy to people, but like what you're talking about right now by going to these events and going to these things, like when people walk into their first, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about this. When people walk into their first event, Olivia, and they start to feel that energy of what it's like to be in that crowd, that's what I love because that's that everybody's vibrating at that same frequency, that same energy. And everybody that's been to those events, like they know, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just this powerful, rhythm of energy that's happening throughout the entire room. And I think that's a really powerful position and place to be in when you are in a space like that, because it does bring change. Right, Olivia?
Oh, 1000%. Like, I think that's really what it is when you get into those spaces and you feel that energy, right? I think the issue that a lot of people have is once they leave, they don't have that energy anymore. So you have to like, and it's not, this is not me like selling coaching or coursing or anything, but you have to find some sort of a community that you can tap back into that energy. Right. And so even I think about like, so I do like courses, whatever. I went to a conference in December. I didn't join a program or anything like that, but I made 3 really good girlfriends where we just like meet up on Zoom once a week, right? And we are able to just like tap back into that energy together and know that we're moving towards like similar goals, similar processes, similar like ideas of what we really want with our life, and like being able to tap into, because I guess the big thing is too, is most people don't have those people around you. Like most people don't grow up with friends who are also entrepreneurial or family that's entrepreneurial. Right. If you did, amazing. I love that for you. A lot of us didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right about the energy situation. I really feel like, I've adapted this. I call it the creme method. And the most successful people I've watched in multiple different business strategies, like they have community, they have resources, like what to actually do. They have the education piece, and then they have mentorship. And that goes all the way to the top. Like the Pace Morbies of the world. Guess what? He freaking hangs out with Tony Robbins. He hangs out with Dean Kruger. Like those are his mentors. Like those are the people that he goes to. And you have to have that. Like you have to have that. You don't have to have a coach and all that stuff. And when I first started, I didn't have that. I did. I'm lying. You know what my coaches were? There were people on YouTube. There were podcasts I listened to. It was Ed Milet. It was, Brandon Beardy. It was these guys that I was listening to, getting the energy from them, and then starting to figure stuff out, trying to figure out where to go. And I think that right there, that we live in an age now, which is digital, it's pretty freaking cool that we can lay in our beds or whatever it is, drive from one place to another and be able to hang out with these incredibly super well gifted people that have the ability to do what we want to do. And we get to sit there and listen to them on a regular basis. We don't have to necessarily pay for their course or anything. We can actually listen to them. Like I can go on your podcast and listen to Olivia's podcast and like, okay, cool. And like, I'm learning new things. I just listened to the episode that you had with Tony on there. And I think it's really fascinating that we get to do these kinds of things and you don't necessarily have to pay for it. And that's pretty awesome.
No, it's an incredible like time in life, right, that we live in right now, because really everything is accessible at our fingertips, truly. And I think the beautiful thing too is like even the people that we admire, they're like so much more accessible than you think. I think that's what was, especially through this whole real estate investing journey and entrepreneurship journey, realizing that a lot of the people that I used to admire, like now I've met and now I'm really good friends with them. And now I'm just like, what is happening? You know? But I think a lot of that also comes from the fact, like, if you intentionally put yourself in places where you're consistently growing and you're showing like the universe, and this is me going woo woo, right? You're showing the universe where you want to go and what you want to do. The universe is going to deliver right back to you as well.
Yeah, let's actually talk about this, because I've had people slam me for talking like this. And when I say universe, I mean like God, the universe, energy, like whatever it is, like whatever. I think what you're trying to say is like, if you align yourself, these positions, these opportunities are going to come to you. That's what the universe or God, whatever who it is you're talking about, like, is going to align those things with you. But you have to like start to do the things that are actually going to get you there. It's not just like, I'm going to stare into a mirror every day and call myself a real estate investor, right? Or is that what you believe?
And I will say, people say that just because it's such an easy, digestible thing to get started doing. Like there's that whole thing on social media with the one girl who every single day she told herself she was beautiful in front of the mirror. And by the end, she actually like felt more beautiful, and you saw like the change in her. But it all comes down to the intention and energy you're actually putting behind it, because just saying words isn't going to do anything. You have to really, truly believe it, right? Believe it so much to the point, like the fact that you know that the sun is going to rise every single day. That's the kind of belief you need to have in yourself and in your goals and your intentions and whatever you're actually saying,
Yeah. But I think that's the hard part right there, is like, how do people start to believe in themselves? Because I have friends that are in their 30s right now, mid 30s, 40s even, and like they don't have that belief skill. And it's like, I can't transfer that ability to believe, make them believe themselves. I can tell them like all these things, like you have the potential to do this, you can have this, you can do this, you can make as much money as you want, you're limiting yourself. How does somebody actually get into that, like, I believe in myself mentality?
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. It's like, who do you surround yourself with, right? Do you surround yourself with people who also believe in themselves? Or do you surround yourself with people who doubt themselves all the time and don't believe that they can actually do anything and all of this stuff, right? Because I find that when I am near people who are like, oh yeah, I can do that, or yeah, I'm going to go do that, and they actually go do it, right? That's when I'm like, okay, I can do this too.
Yeah, like I can do it. You're totally right. It starts to shift the way that you think about stuff. But again, like we're talking about scarcity right now, or like, starvation mode. I think it's hard to think outside that when you're living like that. But when you get around people that are like, I was there too, or I still trip out on myself. We're talking about college educational stuff. I didn't even graduate high school. Like I didn't even graduate high school. The fact that I'm able to have a 7-figure position, with what I'm doing right now, it's like, it's freaking crazy to me. But we go back to like, me as a child, like I always had this ambition to want to do things. I wanted to, I had that risk tolerance. And then, I had to shed people like that were in my life, which were friends that were doing dumb stuff. I hung out with like a bunch of skateboarders and all that stuff, and I love the skateboarding culture. It's still in me now.
Yeah.
But you get in with the wrong people in that kind of culture, the skate surf culture, and you're smoking weed at 15, you're drinking freaking booze all the time. And that's what that culture is. It's really like that a lot. So I went down that rabbit hole. I did that whole thing. I went and skated everywhere, went to San Francisco all the time and was doing all these things and hanging out with all these people. And, in my mid 20s, I started to realize like, I need to get away from these people because they're going to continue to hold me back, and I want to do more things. And the goals that I have for myself, like I can't be around these people. And I think you have to have that decision, and you have to have that mindset to be able to recognize and be self-aware enough to like, my friend Jeff this is probably not the best person for me to be around. Or, my friend Kevin, this is probably not the best person to be around. And you start to like realize, like, if I want to do these things, I need to get rid of these people. Did you go through a phase like that?
I feel like I'm still going through it.
Did you?
So I just turned 30 a few months ago.
Okay. Happy birthday.
So I feel like, thanks. So I feel like, and I recently just moved back to Colorado. So I went to grad school in Colorado, moved to New Orleans, Louisiana, then for work, nomaded for 2 years, and actually decided to move back here to Colorado just because I just love the vibe here. I love the mountains. I love how healthy I am here, all of that. But me in grad school was a very different Olivia. I had no money. I was like, and it's not like I partied a lot in college, not so much in grad school as much, but wasn't around people that were striving to do big things. I was also around just like engineers who we're all going to go do the same thing, follow the path, all of that. And I was a big rock climber as well. So it's kind of funny that you said skater. Like I was in the rock climbing group, which basically similar.
This is the same thing?
Yeah, very similar, like kind of stoners.
Kind of like,
and I was like the weird one where it's like, okay, I like rock climbing, but I'm also bougie and do other stuff. But I had to, like, I've been this past year in general really thinking about, okay, being back here in Colorado, I have a lot of people here, but who do I actually want to spend time around? Who do I actually want to give my energy to? Because I'm a lot more I'm a very social person. So I love hanging out with people all the time. But I'm also so cognizant now. It's like, okay, if I choose to spend time with this person or these people, what is that taking away from? And how do I feel whenever I leave hanging out with a certain person or a certain group of people? Is it fueling me, or is it making me feel kind of like and icky and not great? Right. And so I think you have to really start to get in tune with what are your feelings and your emotions whenever you are around someone. How do you feel around them? And is it actually serving you to be around them, you know? And so I've just kind of gotten really, I've been starting to get really just, and it's not like you have to have a whole breakup session with a friend.
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
You can
we're not
just
friends
kind
anymore.
of
Bye, see
trickle
ya.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we should hang out. Like, oh, like, and then you don't actually hang out and then they fizzle out. And I think for me too, what I had to kind of realize is some people are in your life temporarily. It just is what it is. And that's okay. Like, it is completely okay. A lot of people aren't meant to be in your life forever. And that's okay. It's just is what it is, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. My mentor, one of my mentors, his name's Aaron West. He talked to me about like what he calls 5-minute friends. And they're like the people that come into your life that you've maybe had your entire life. And you know that when you hang out with them, like nothing good's going to come from it. Like if you do hang out with them, it's like, I'm going to go have one beer. And then by the time you know it, you leave at 6 o'clock, you end up freaking coming home at 2 a.m. and you're like 10 beers down. And you're just like, oh my God, like I just hung out with this person. This is what they do. That's the trajectory you get. And it's like this, it's like these cycles, you get them every time that you hang out with them. And I'm with you on that with the energy stuff.
Like one thing though is something that, cause I feel like especially in like the entrepreneurship realm, there is so much focus on like this idea of being the best version of yourself. And I do think that sometimes we go a little crazy in terms of self-development and being like, well, okay, the best version of myself never drinks anything and never eats anything bad and is always meditating and is doing all this. Yeah, never does it. And I'm just like, okay, and I kind of went through that. I was like, okay, I'm going to be the best version of myself. And I realized like I just snapped after a while. I was like, okay, there's a balance, just like with anything in life. And so I do have my friends who they're also like literally one of my best friends. She is a go-getter as well. She is a doctor, really just crushes it, has like big dreams and aspirations, but she's also the person I have the most freaking fun with. And when
Really?
we're together, we travel like the most fun lives of the party the entire time. And it's the best. And I love those moments. And those are the moments we look back on our deathbed like, damn, we had such a wonderful, beautiful time. Is that every day? No, there are special, like specific moments. And I'm a big person, like in the sense, like I like taking vacation. I love working. I go really hard and then I'm out. You won't see me for 3 weeks, right? Like, and this happens multiple times a year. Yeah.
I need to do that.
Right. It's so good. It's so like literally last year, I turned my phone off essentially for 3 weeks. I had people like properties were covered. VAs had things covered. I said, I trust you to figure it out. If it's really like really, really urgent, then you let me know. But I trust you. Even if you make the wrong decision, there's no way it can like, there's very slim chance it's going to be so wrong that it's going to be detrimental to everyone. I like shut down my coaching for that month. I even told my students like no sessions for 2-3 weeks. And I was just out off the grid and I was traveling with 10 of my best friends for my birthday. We had the most ridiculous, beautiful time in Argentina. And like, that's something we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. And it's so worth it, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Just like take a mental break, take time off, maybe freaking get a shaman and end up in Indonesia somewhere and just freaking, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like I would like, that's what I want to do. Like, I feel like I need to do that at a certain point. You visited 55 countries, right?
Yes.
By the age of 30. Am I right on that?
So 50 by 25 and now I turned 30. So yeah, so 55 by 30. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Was there a specific moment during any of those travels that shifted your perspective on life and business? Like one transformative moment, maybe when you did peyote or something like that? Or, you know, like, is there a moment where you just had this epiphany of like, you get perspective shifts and we get them all the time, but like something that you remember from traveling?
Well, I do remember I remember the time when I decided that like the trajectory I was on was not the right path, was literally sitting on a boat in Italy. Like I just booked this boat for myself and I'm sitting out and I'm looking at everything. And it's just so beautiful, so beautiful. And I was like, what am I like? I always knew I was meant to live a beautiful life, and the life I was living, I did not feel beautiful, right? Like I was just stressed out. I was having to take antidepressants. There's nothing wrong with antidepressants, but I, as a person, did not need them. And it was very environmental based. Like the second I quit my corporate job, I was like, oh, I'm fine and not depressed. How amazing. You know? So that was a really transformative experience. When I was 24, I did 3 months of basically solo travel, which was really fun. And also just like, opened up my eyes to the kind of travel that I wanted to do, and the fact that I actually do like working. Like I enjoy I enjoy like being a productive human in society, but I do like taking my breaks. But I think what that also showed me is like I was never meant to be a bum and sit on the beach and do nothing.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. So like over the course of the last 4 years after leaving your, that job, you have a couple 6, 7 figure businesses. How many businesses are you running right now?
Yeah, I'm running 3 right now. But I think I will eventually shut down the interior design business. We shall see. I really like the interior design business, but I way prefer doing my own projects than other people's. We'll see. We've got a few projects that are under wrap right now, and we're going to kind of see if we continue to scale that or not. But
Why shut it down when you can sell it?
I guess I could sell it. I
Why
didn't even
not?
think about that.
Yeah, why would you not just sell it? You already have a brand. You have kind of a name for
Yeah.
yourself. You do have a name for yourself. And I was thinking about that too. Like when I first started my investment career, I was like big into hosting, like co-hosting people's properties.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to do that forever? Like I'm in 2025 now after doing it for 5 years. I'm just like, look, this is fun. It's been fun. It was part of my journey. And this is where we talked about this earlier, where it's like you can let go of things that don't necessarily serve you anymore. They were great for starting. Like you got to like get your feet wet. You understood business. You started to understand the acronym. You saw what it's like to work with the pain in the ass people. You get to feel what that's like when you have those clients that aren't the best. You get to learn all about money and how to transfer it, move it around, and actually have a business. But then that maybe just isn't the path for you anymore. And you have to be able to cut it off and move on to something else. Or, in this situation, just sell it to somebody that would pick it up. Maybe we'll share equity piece with you and you can move along and there's some extra cash for you. I always tell people like when they're like, I want to get rid of this business. I'm like, dude, why don't you just sell it? Like we live in an age now with like Cody Sanchez and all these people talking about buying other people's business. Trust me, you post that online, somebody's going to buy it.
That is such a great, I like honestly didn't even think about that. That is a great, now I'm going to like start thinking about that more.
Yeah. Cause you have the framework, you have everything there. You got the team already, maybe you stay on board for 6 months and then you transition out peacefully and you get to make some cash while you're doing that. And you get an equity piece. And I think again, it's like, who are you around that talks about these things? These are the things that you get to, being on these kinds of podcasts. I've watched so many people close their business. I'm like, why didn't you not just like, somebody would have bought this. Somebody would have picked it up. Like,
and so I guess I think part of it is, I don't know how much like Alex Hormozy stuff you listen to, but
I go through phases with him.
Yeah, me too. Like I'll literally follow him really hard and then I'll just like unfollow him from everything because it's just like too intense.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
But like I think I like need breaks just in terms of just taking some of the strategy and applying it to how it works for me, but he talks about, selling his business. To be fair, his business was way bigger than my businesses are, but like the valuation on it, because it was so dependent on his face, right, was not high. And so that part of me is like, well, like a lot of our business comes in because of me, right? Because I'm like the face of it. I'm there. I'm the person. Like other than my real estate, all of my other businesses run because I'm on social media of like dancing and all this stuff. And so I don't know. I just had
this meeting with my team yesterday. I was like, I don't mean to get all dark on everybody right now, but this is just the reality and the truth. If I was to die today, and hope to God I don't, I'm knocking on wood, what's going to happen with this business? Because it's like literally dependent on me. And that's a scary place to be. Like, it really is. So are you talking to yourself about that now? Like, what am I like?
And so I've gone through different paths on this. Part of me is like, I need to build like a product-based business, right? I'm like, do I need to build a product-based business? I don't know. I think if it's something I'm passionate about in the future, I find something I'm passionate about, then maybe. But I think that's kind of where real estate comes in, where it's like, I have these assets and I can continue to funnel it into assets that aren't dependent on my face, right? So be that more short-term rentals or boutique hotels or whatever that looks like. Because I have this really big passion. I want to open up like a boutique hostel. So I'm a big traveler. And so something that I really loved about traveling in my youth was staying at hostels. I don't want to stay at hostels now because they're gross and it's like 20-year-olds.
You're too bougie now, Olivia.
Yeah, I'm way too bougie. But I love the community aspect of it. And I love that whenever you traveled, you always had people to travel with and you were meeting people from all over the world. And it was such a cool experience. And when you stay in hotels and Airbnbs, you're kind of isolated. So you don't have like that built-in group of travel friends right off the bat. And so creating that in really cool places like Italy or wherever else I want to go, that would be my next big real estate venture to go into.
Yeah. What are you holding right now in assets? Like I was doing research on you, and maybe my research is right. Cause we have this beautiful thing called AI now, and it can just like go and find everything about everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you holding over 3 million now in
Yeah, 3
assets?
million right now.
And you did that in 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is
we
freaking
went.
wild.
We went. But it's funny because then I see other people, I'm like, oh, that's nothing,
Yeah.
And I think it's all perspective.
$3 million in real estate. I think that's pretty freaking awesome. And hopefully you pat yourself on the back for it, because it's like most people don't even have an extra property. They have the one that they live in, and that's it. And I always have to tell myself that too. I'm not one of these guys that owns like 500 doors, nor do I want to.
I don't want 500 doors.
I'd rather have 30 doors that are doing just as much as 500 doors, but we're doing it in a totally different level. And I think, I just talked about this with Sarah Weaver last week, where I'm seeing this huge rise of what I consider and call, I'm actually going to be doing something about, I'm going to be talking about this a lot more. There's what I consider a modern investor now. And it's people that are younger that are getting involved in real estate, or if they're older, they're looking at short term, they're looking at midterm, they're looking at residential care facilities, they're looking at renting by the room, they're looking at house hacking. That's what a modern investor is. Traditional real estate doesn't necessarily always work for people. I'm in California and things are expensive here. That's where you got to go look outside of other places that are more affordable. But guess what? Those principles and stuff still work outside of this, outside of these markets. And I just see that, real estate now with interest rates being as high as they are, you have to be creative.
This is what I tell my students all the time. You've got to be creative. Like there's no other way right now. And like sometimes there are, I know people also doing just like long-term rentals are still crushing it. But like opportunities really are endless if you're willing to get creative, right? And it's like on social media, right? I post about house hacking and stuff like that. And the number of people that are like, I can't find anything like that, and I live in New York or I live in California. It's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that this doesn't work in other places. And also, it can still work in New York and in LA. You just might have to get a little bit creative, or you just might have to like bring in a little bit more cash, whatever that looks like. But it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, if we just talk about midterm rentals right now, I know people that are buying duplexes in Los Angeles and San Diego for 700, 800, 900, 1.1, 1.2, and living in one side, renting out the other to companies, and essentially not paying very much in rent. Yeah, they are paying rent, but maybe it's $1,000 when normally it would be like $4,000.
Totally.
And it's covering the majority of their mortgage. And like, that's a freaking huge W if you ask me, like all day. And it's a business.
I live here in Denver and I'm house hacking. I bought a house with a basement unit. It's a really cute basement unit. So I tell people I live in my basement, but like I also use that for social media. It's like, I live in my basement. But it's a very cute basement. But the main house is 5 bedrooms. So I short-term rent it out as a luxury rental. It brings in over 6 figures a year. And like, it's the only way that I could have bought like $1 million property here,
Right.
But it's so worth it.
But you get to go into the main living room when everybody's gone and stuff. You get to chill out.
Exactly. Like there's no one there. Oh, all the time. I go use the hot tub. I go to the movie room.
Yeah. Okay. So you're actually like living, enjoying the space and all that stuff.
Yeah. Like I was in the hot tub earlier today.
Yeah. We talked earlier about how I think real estate is boring and the numbers are cold and all that stuff. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're having to look at properties, what works, what doesn't work. I like what you're doing because you get to live in a place that you enjoy going to. You get to go upstairs and enjoy that space. Although you do seem like you have a pretty cool basement. It's not like you're like trapped down there or anything like that. But I feel like that's what's really cool about with investing with certain people. They will go invest on where they like to visit. Like, like to go, I love Santa Cruz. I have a property in Santa Cruz. I go out there, hang out there, and then it's rented the other times. You start to live that kind of lifestyle rather than necessarily not looking at it as the cold number part of it, but you actually get to go live in it and hang out in it, hang out in the summer, whatever it is. But I like that part of it. And I'm finally getting to that position where before everything was just so cold, numbers driven. It was not necessarily fun. But now I'm like starting to see that other side of things where it's like, okay, cool. You like going to Italy. Maybe you need to pick up a freaking studio in Italy, and that's something that's rented out. And now you get to go there and enjoy it whenever the hell you want. And like, you start to have this like, this lifestyle that goes along with you, and it's your property and you get to live how you want. Is that where you're going right now? Is that where your brain's like in that mentality?
For sure. I don't know I know you said you listened to the episode that I just did with Tony, but like that's what we kind of told, because he's more of just like a numbers guy and I'm a lifestyle investor through and through. Like I have properties and locations I just don't care about and I never want to go visit them. And I just don't like it. I've got people there, so I don't need to, but it's still good practice to go and check on them and stuff like that. And I really just don't want to.
Yeah, you don't got to go.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you got to go do that.
Right. And I'm just not going to.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I got a property in my own backyard that I've never been in like the last 2 years, like literally 5 minutes from me. I
Oh
just
my
don't want to go
gosh.
there.
Yeah, and it's just but I love having like I love being creative. Like I love design, right? Like I love designing cool spaces. I love spaces that people come to and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I have to come back." And so even when I think about buying my place in Italy, like boutique hostel or something, it's like threefold. It's a boutique hostel because I in general just want to get into that and I want to work with like older villas and make it beautiful and all that stuff. But then also, I have a place to go to, right? Whenever I want to go to Italy, because I would like to live half of my life in Europe and half of my life in the US, especially when I like find my significant other, all of that. That's like part of the plan. They just don't know it yet. And then another thing is like, I have this vision of me like getting married in Italy. And if you don't know, like a lot of places in Italy that you would want to get married at are very expensive. But like if I already own my place, I could have it there. And just like having all my people around in my beautiful boutique hostel in Italy, I'm like, it's a dream.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that right there sounds fun. Like, the real estate where it's cold and numbers driven, you're looking at the financial stuff. I mean, I get that, but it's also like, dude, you only live once. I mean, maybe you live more than that, but for now, I mean, it's once today here, and go live and go do the things you want to do. I think that's really what I think freedom is. Like the money's cool and stuff. And like, I think that right there is like, I can wake up whenever I want. I can go wherever I want. Just like you mentioned earlier, how you can disappear for 3 weeks and like nobody knows where you're at, except they know they probably need to get a hold of your doctor friend if they want to connect with you. That's winning to me right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Completely. When I even think about like even this whole boutique hostel idea, at first I was like, well, maybe we just like start somewhere here in the US and like middle of nowhere, numbers might be good. And the more like I was just talking about it, I was like, that just doesn't fuel me.
It's not
why
you.
don't I just go and do the thing I actually want to go do, which is in Europe?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you've like kind of scripted your dream life already, right? Like you've put everything together in the way that you wanted to.
I think so. I think it's always like evolving, right? But like if I had thought back to 5 years ago, the fact that I'm here, it blows my mind, right? And it's just so beautiful to see it unfold. And I look back at my old journals and I'm like, damn, I actually did the damn thing, And so I'm excited to see where the next 5 years go. But yeah, I think it's like this beautiful evolving journey of just like constantly like living out your dream, right? And does every day look perfect? No. Are there days that I want to like shut everything down and just do nothing and sure.
Yeah.
But like the positives so outweigh the negatives in every way, shape, or form,
Yeah. Is that what's next for you, Olivia? Is like you're going to do that whole thing? Have you started piecing it all together? What's next for you?
I've started piecing it all together. Well, so right now I'm mainly focused on helping people. So I'm like mainly focused on building my coaching and course. But it's funny because even from the coaching standpoint, I love coaching, but I need breaks from it. I'm like the person who goes hard and then needs breaks. Whereas I know some people love having their coaching program open all year round. I just literally like going off grid and no one contacting me for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I think part of that is I'm toying around, and this is where like funnels and marketing and all that stuff, like funnels to a passive course, testing that out. Because I do still like part of why I love real estate is income still always comes in, right? Like regardless of the time of year, where you are, it always comes in. I find that with the coaching, I feel the need to like be on Zoom and be doing things and yada, yada more so. While I love it, I just need it to be more on my own time and more like structured to suit my lifestyle. Whereas I think last year I was just like, go, 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 go. And I like, and that's where I was like, nope, I need a break.
Yeah. So 2025 to you is more of that, like, still pushing to grow. It sounds like you have a small team. You don't have a big team with a lot of big overhead.
No, just I have 4 people that work under me, like in the coaching course stuff, but they kind of dabble in all different parts of the different businesses. So, yeah.
So they're multidimensional. So they work in different, are they foreign? Are they overseas?
2 foreign, 2 here.
Got you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And they're full-time, part-time?
Everyone's part-time right now. The goal is to get some folks more full-time for sure.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think, like we talked about earlier with coaching my program, when I started off, it was super lean. It was just me and like another person. And now we're to the point where we're still doing quite a bit, but it's like, I wish I was But I remember Rob Abasolo told me once, he's like, man, well, the way you're operating right now, you're going to miss it one day. And I didn't know what he was talking about. And when I was running small and lean and we were like making, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 a month, whatever it was, I didn't have very much overhead. Now my overhead is that every month, like literally 30, 40, $50,000. Exactly what we were talking about earlier. And I think that's a tough position to be in when you get into any business. How do you continue to make more than 30% profits while you're putting all this time and energy into work? And I think, again, that's where, you're starting to learn all these things. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure it out. I know the process of what it takes to build a successful business, but now you got to evolve and you got to change and you got to pivot and you got to move things around. And I think that's right now the process that I actually enjoy. But are you good at maintaining, or do you love the energy of starting something new?
So this is where we get a little bit woo-woo. I'm a manifesting generator, if you know about human design.
Yeah.
So I'm good at both. I prefer starting things. Like, I love a new project, but I can maintain. So I think about, for example, my podcast. Starting it, such a flurry. I was like, 2 weeks done, up, running, podcast episodes recorded. Let's freaking go. But also, I'm still running this a year later, and I'm happy to run it a year later. There are some things, though, like I think I probably flourish a little bit more in the starting, but I do the consistency, and I'm good at it, and I enjoy it because I know, I think about posting on social media, right? Like, I've been posting on social media forever.
Yeah.
Even before I was doing it for social media and I was just doing it for fun, I was still posting on social media. Just posting my pictures of travels just for fun and not monetizing anything. So I think I'm good at both, which is which honestly, the negatives about that is I find myself trying to dip my hands into both a lot of the time when I need to learn my lane a little better. And I think that's where exhaustion can come sometimes.
Do you have the muscle of letting go when it comes to letting control of whatever you're building, letting other people, your team run? It sounds like you did already, because your team was like, all right, cool.
I love letting go. I love letting go. I'm like, you got this. Okay. And I'm a very big proponent on let people learn. They're going to make mistakes. The mistakes are not the end of the world. Plain and simple. Most mistakes are not going to be the end of the world. And if it's something really, really bad, we're going to be able to figure it out. I very much have the mindset of everything really is figure outable. And so I would prefer for people to learn on the job. And maybe that's just because that's the way I learn as well. I just want to get in there, make my mistakes, learn, and keep going. And it's just an iteration,
I love that. If you can go back to give your younger self advice, even in real estate business, whatever it is, what would you say and why?
Well, I would say trust yourself. I think at the beginning, I was always trying to get insight from other people, and I would just follow other people's strategies and be like, okay. And I'm a great student, right? You tell me to do something and I'll say how high and just go with it,
Right. Yeah.
But when it doesn't feel like it's in alignment with me. And so I think this is something I'm always working on, is listening to, okay, how is my body feeling about it? What does Olivia actually want? I know people are telling you to do all these different things, but what do you actually want? And go with your alignment, right? Don't go with, okay, well, this person was really successful doing it this way, I guess you should do it that way,
Yeah, I love that. All right, this is where I come down to this segment of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about where we can find you at. So if your real estate portfolio was a sandwich, what kind would it be and why?
A sandwich. Ooh. Well, I really like a good chicken sandwich. I don't know how that relates to real estate investing. Maybe that's because, you know how with a chicken sandwich, you've got so many different pieces all mixed together. And I feel like that's my real, I just kind of put a bunch of random things that I enjoy together in the middle. And it's all just mixed. It's not quite a perfect layer. You know how with sandwiches, it's okay, you got the cheese layer. No. With the chicken salad, it's all mixed together and you don't really know what you're getting. And it's just a little bit all over the place, but it tastes so good.
I love that. It's cool. Okay. What's the most engineer thing you still do in your real estate business?
Ooh, looking at data and actual analytics. And I have become a stickler. Even it could be anything from real estate to my course and coaching funnels, looking at, sign up rates and how is this page converting? And okay, in terms of if you're looking at price labs or if you're looking at whatever, I'm always just looking at the data. So I do still really enjoy data.
All right, cool. I got another one. If your success had a smell, what would it be?
A smell. Ooh, so that's interesting because I'm not a smell person.
No,
Like
you don't
it's
use that
so
sense?
no, so it's I'm a very visual person. So you said that and I automatically was like golden, like gold, like the color came to me, like this bright, warm gold, like rich but comfortable, cozy yellow.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So last question right here. What's the let's see, what's a good quote? What's the most bougie thing you've done since becoming your level of success now?
Oh, bougie. Well, I guess I got like for my birthday, I basically just not bought, but like booked a like short-term rental in wine country in Mendoza for 10 of my best friends and just told them to show up and we had a great time. So,
That's
yeah.
freaking awesome. I love that. I love that. Olivia, where can folks find you if they want to connect with you, learn more about what you're doing? Do you talk about like travel tips and how to like use points and stuff like that too?
I have like a program on it. I don't talk about it as much like on my social media and stuff. Every once in a while there's a podcast episode. Like I'm coming out with a podcast episode that's like 10 countries that or 10 places to visit that are great for solo travelers, and it was based off of an article that came out by Forbes, and I kind of go through like, okay, what was my experience in that country, et cetera, yada yada. But it's not really always the focus, but you never know, my focus is always changing. I'm very fluid with my content.
Got you. I love that. I love that. Where can folks find you if they're looking to catch up with you on your content?
Yeah, so Instagram is probably, well, actually, I would say Threads is where I'm the most active now. But Instagram and Threads, I'm there all the time. It's at so THE Olivia Tati, OLIVIATATI. I'm also on YouTube. I have a podcast called The Wonderlust Wealth Show that Jesse's going to be on soon.
Yes, I am.
Those are my main channels. Are there any others? No, I have a TikTok, but I honestly don't interact on TikTok, and it's just things that are repurposed. And then I deleted TikTok when it got banned, and I can't re-download it, and I'm totally okay with that. So
I know you can't download it again. So like, unless you buy a phone, I was watching like, there's people that were selling their phones for like thousands of dollars because the app was on there, which is crazy. I don't like TikTok. I just don't want to watch somebody crying about stuff. Like I just don't. I feel like my feed is like literally that every time I go through it.
well, see, my problem is the TikTok algorithm for me was just way too good. Like it was one of the few platforms that really would suck me in for hours,
Really?
and I hated it. Like I was just like, this is not good for me.
Yeah, I have a 30-minute limit on my Instagram because that's usually where I'll scroll. It's like once it hits that 30 minutes, I'm done.
See, I
sometimes it
do
happens
too.
early.
I do too. And I even have a whole app, but I just click. But like now I've set it to.
Do you click remind me 15 more minutes later?
Oh, every time.
Yeah,
but
me too.
now I've set it to, and it's because sometimes I like spend time on there, even just like looking for content or whatever. And I'm trying to be better in terms of actually planning out my content, because sometimes I go through phases where I'll plan things out and then other phases where I'm off the fly. And sometimes I just like have to be in the app typing it. And if it's like 15 minutes and I'm like, well, I still need to finish posting this thing. But yeah, no, now with Opal, there's a setting where you can't like unblock it. So that's been good.
I love that. I'm gonna have to download that. I just wrote it down. Opal, OPAL.
Yeah, OPAL.
Opal's gonna keep me from freaking hitting that 5 minutes more, 15 minutes more on Instagram.
And I have it on Instagram, on YouTube, on all the socials.
Yeah, I like your stuff on Threads a lot. I just started really spending more time in Threads, and I like that little, kind of little tips that you have going on, or just like little things that maybe pop up in your head. And I think it's a cool way of showing people. Yeah,
that's why I love it, because it'll be random things in my head even throughout the day. Like usually each morning I'll go in and sometimes I'll batch things and just copy and paste it and post it there. Yeah. But usually each morning I'll go in and do at least 3 posts, and then throughout the day, whatever pops into my head, I don't even have to get on my phone. I can just do it from my computer and type it in there. So I really like it too. And you can really hop on like pop culture trends really easily too, which I like. So
yeah. I typed something up about like San Francisco and like people in California, and it just like blew up. Like, and then all of a sudden I started just seeing stuff that was basically about the same topic that I had. So people thought I was like, I don't know, some kind of travel blogger or something like California. But anyway, it's fun. But yeah, Olivia, I appreciate you. This was really good because I feel like, these kinds of conversations where they go deep into like, what the mindset is, things that have happened in the past. And not that real estate's boring. I mean, you've been able to build a pretty cool career. If you guys want to learn more about real estate, go check her out. Like, go follow her stuff. But I like these conversations because they bring a little more context to the person. Then you also get to hear the little stories and stuff that, were difficult for you to overcome when we talk about our parents. And, those kinds of mentalities and things. I think there's a lot of people out there that are going through that now. And it's good to hear perspective from people that have been there, done that, and also know what it's like to go through that. So Olivia, I appreciate you so much for being here. I told you guys this was going to be an awesome episode. And Olivia, you followed through with what I told everybody before this even started. So there it is.
I love this. No, this has been so wonderful. Honestly, one of the most fun podcast episodes that I've been on. I love that it's not just like straight normal real estate podcast.
Yeah. I do those sometimes, but for now we are not doing that because this is a better conversation in my opinion. So in the comments, leave a note. Say, Jess, I don't want to hear you and Olivia talking about freaking your immigrant parents. I read every comment. So let us know. Like, I'm always open to hearing things. I think, there's no negative. I mean, never mind. I get hate on Insta or YouTube all the time. So yeah, leave it. I actually like it. I like that. Do you like the hate that comes through there? I actually do. I don't know
if I'd say it. I'm like we're working on our people pleasing tendency. So I wouldn't say I love it, but I'm getting a lot better at handling it for sure. It doesn't bother me at all. It helps the algorithm. So yeah, hate me away, you guys do it. So Olivia, thank you so much for being here. This has been awesome. Amazing.
Thank you for listening to the JV podcast. I'm Jesse Vasquez, your host. I appreciate you for listening. And if you could do me a huge solid, go like and subscribe to this. This helps us tremendously. And as always, thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of your day.